Safety Steelpan, Safety Steelpan.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the organizers of this fascinating series of the Art of Resistance, Artists as Gatekeepers of Truth. My name is Sunset Roach, and I want to thank Claudette Taylor for giving me this opportunity to introduce a person that I've known pretty well all my life, who is Panman Patrick McNeely. And this is a tremendous endeavor to delve into how artists are able to motivate us and let us pull through the negativity of anti-Black racism and racism of any kind. Mr. McNeely hails from Trinidad and Tobago, where my parents, Hetty and Charlie Roach, are from also. And he told me that when he landed in Toronto, he met the sound of Steelpan on Yonge Street. I'm going to let him explain about that story, and I want to bring on Patrick McNeely, who, like Claudette says, might be able to tell us how he got that name. Welcome.
Panman Pat.
Yes, yes.
Well, there are two ways of explaining why people call me Panman Pat. And the first reason is the steel drum is affectionately known as a pan. And I'm not the guitar man, I'm not the piano man, I'm the pan man. So that's it. But some years ago, a reporter in Trinidad was doing an interview with me, and when she did the story, Sunset, she kept saying, and the pan man from Canada says this, and pan man so and so, and pan man Pat and so, and say, hey, I got a godmother. And I just kept going with the pan man.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Yeah. So, Pat, can you tell us, where do you want to start us off? Because you have a life of playing Steelpan and in the development of that instrument. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, it took me almost 60 years to be able to tell this story. I began telling this story last November. Maybe because then I found myself, maybe. But even before I get into me, I want to say thank God for today. Yes. Thank God for tonight. Yes. And thank God for that prayer that I heard. That almost explains. I don't have to say anything else. The prayer that I heard tonight on this broadcast tells the story of my life. Because I've been planning to be able to tell this story, and I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how I'll get an audience to do it. And where will I begin? I didn't know how. But somebody up there, and throughout my story, somebody up there, whenever I plan to do something, they always jump in and take over. And you see, it's happening. It's happening. He jumps in and takes over and show me how to do it. It's similar to what I wanted to do. It's a little better. So that's me. Sunset,
yes.
As a little fella, I started off in a missionary school in Trinidad, in an area called Curep. Today, it looks maybe like Mimico or something.
That was a Canadian missionary school.
But I went to a Canadian missionary school, and the United Church funded 12 schools. Mm-hmm. And for us to go there, it was, we wore no shoes. You couldn't wear shoes to go to that school. Uh-huh. But the reverends, and there was one from Saskatchewan, one from Peterborough, and so on. And they would, I'd see them playing the piano, and we'd sing along with it, and they'd take me around to sing with them. And I got the idea of hearing the piano with the bass and the left hand and the right hand, so I got into that way. So I started off with my siblings in a missionary school. By the time I was about 10, the priest in the area found out that we weren't attending his school. And he told my family don't send us to church. So that was first heard I got banned, you could say, from going to church. But the missionaries kept us going with, like the Presbyterian way of doing worship.
You know, Pat, you were telling me that was during the time when Trinidad was still a colony, was it?
It was still under colonial rule.
Okay.
Just before I came to Canada, it went independent, but under colonial rule, yeah. And there were things, so for instance, somehow there was music in my brain. And the kids in the area who didn't go to school, because if you made it to what's the equivalent of grade 8, you got a school leaving letter from the schoolmaster, and that would be your diploma for life. That was it. They weren't, we came from at the end of slavery, people would disarrange and finding themselves.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so you actually came to Canada just as Trinidad was getting independence, is that right?
Yeah, we got independence in 1962. I came 3 or 4 years later to Canada, but by then I had a whole lot of musical experiences and experiences relevant to today's topic.
Right.
Like for instance, I was teaching the kids on the side of the road how to play on steel drums.
Yes.
And old discarded steel drums. And at the carnival, I was able to take them into the parade. I was 15 years old. And for that, after the carnival, I was taken to the police station and flogged.
Flogged
Yeah.
during these colonial times.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to be teaching these kids music.
So was it that pan was not respected or regarded as something equivalent to the piano or the trumpet, or how was that?
The pan is one of 2 instruments in the world that has been banned. The other one was the bagpipe.
Oh.
The ladies from hell, they call them. And that instrument was banned, and my grandfather was Scottish. That has nothing to do with this. But for playing steel drums, society thought it was not a good thing for anyone to do. And I was attending a college at the time, again by the United Church of Canada, the Naparima Hillview College. And so they sought to discourage me. They never told me don't play music. They never told me don't go back. They just took me to the station and whipped me. And the next year I did it again because I'm a slow learner. I didn't know it should stop. So I taught the guys another song and we went in the parade. And I was taken to the police station again and whipped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, that might have been part of preparing me for what's to come.
And maybe a hangover from enslavement times where that kind of punishment was acceptable.
Yeah, it was common. Like you did anything, you get licks, and all they do is they just whip the finger like that, and you're condemned. You're gonna be getting licks.
Right.
Some people, as kids, licks was so common that we would tell each other little stories and make jokes and stuff and say things like, "This guy got licks. He got licks for something he didn't do yet. It's called just in case licks."
Just in case.
You get just in case licks. You get licks just in case you did,
Wow.
So I got my licking and stuff, but I was able to work for about a year as a musician, and I was able to play for every night except Christmas and Good Friday. There we go again. Every night from 9 o'clock to 3 a.m. in a tourist entertainment place in Trinidad. Every night, 6 hours practice, I played pan and I played bass guitar. And preparing me for things to come, I keep saying,
Yes.
Because the last night I played, there would have been a Saturday night in July. I think it was July the 5th in 1966. And the next day, about 4 o'clock, I was walking somewhere on King Street in Parkdale, Toronto.
In Toronto?
Yeah, Toronto is a small little, bigger than a village,
Yeah. In 66.
In 66,
Yes,
yeah.
just before 100 years of The
just
centenary.
before Centennial.
Yes. the
Yeah.
centenary, yeah.
And again, I may have been positioned to be here for Centennial, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was a great time. So, about 4 days later, I found myself learning the city, so I'd walk along Young Street and then along Bathurst Street or so and
You
blow
mean
and
4
stuff.
days after you arrived
In-
here in the city of Toronto?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Why it was important for me to come here, I came here with 20 bucks, 10 US and 2 Canadian $5.
And then what did bring you?
Pardon?
Why did you choose to come to Toronto?
Why did I choose to come here? In my mind, and I'm not the only one, and if you listen to the song that I played in the theme here tonight, don't mind how talented you were with steel drums in colonial Trinidad then. You had to go outside, you had to go abroad to escape. So for me it was like cultural exile.
Right. This is what Sparrow was singing to your life experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sparrow wrote a song because it happened to a lot of our steel band players at the time. And mostly the ones who were able to, who came from maybe better situations and were able to go to
Economically.
college, you know?
Right.
Because a lot of people didn't go, so maybe in an area of 20 kids, 2 might be going to college and the rest, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got women in farm, in a factory, whatever, agriculture, whatever.
Yeah.
And transportation, and cooking, resident, whatever.
So tell us, yes, 4 days later.
So 4 days I'm here, and I'm walking along Young Street, and I thought I heard the note of a steel drum. A ping, and I just stopped there, and I'm waiting, because I know when the wind blow, you're going to hear music coming again. And it did come, and I followed the song into a building up on the 2nd, 3rd floor, and I saw what looked like a nightclub, and there were 4 men rehearsing on steel drums. There were 5 instruments, but only 4 men rehearsing. There was a vacant one, so I sort of edged my way up and looked at it, and I thought I could handle that. And I started playing quietly behind them and stuff, and they kept looking around. And before you know it, I was playing with that band the next night and for every weekend for the summer.
Was that at the place that you told me that my father ran on Yonge Street?
Yeah, Charlie Roach had this club called the Little Trinidad Club. And just coming from Trinidad back then, to come to Toronto before 1966, one had to go to Montreal and then find your way to Toronto. We didn't have an international airport here. As a matter of fact, when you came out the airport and the propellers stopped swinging around, you have to walk to this little building. That was the airport building, you know. You had to, and it was raining. I didn't have a coat. It was a little cold. It was July, but it was cold to me.
Well, I know my dad came in 55 to Saskatchewan because his brother was already here to go to school because they didn't have a university at that time.
No.
So he had to come abroad.
Yeah.
And many had gone to England, right? Which is the
England was the way to go.
That was the British colonial.
That was the way to go, yeah.
Yeah, mother country.
You didn't need a passport to
Yeah.
go to England.
You were a British subject already.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
inherited, we were born British
Yeah.
subjects.
Yeah. Yes. And as I understand from Dad, he said when Caribbean people came to Canada, they already had the rights that citizens had.
That's right.
In fact, Dad was saying that citizenship was just coming into existence, and British people or British subjects had the right to vote, to run for office, to do all these things that other immigrants who were not from British colonial
couldn't do it. Yeah, so
but then that changed, right?
Yeah. We were able to vote, and just like a British citizen, you know, at the same year, we were loyal subjects.
Yes, but
subject to what? I don't know. But yeah,
so you are part of the group of Trinidadians who brought Steelpan abroad and into the schools. You were instrumental with that, weren't you?
Yeah, well, so let's take it from in that club on Yonge Street. I played there, and you get to meet people and stuff. And I met Cello Gomes,
Oh, yeah.
Now, Cello Gomes, he's of a lighter hue than I am, a bit lighter. But Cello had an interest in pan too. He had talent. He was a great musician. And Cello was asked to not come back to his family home.
In Trinidad?
He was kicked out of home. Same with me, And then when Cello's college found out that he got kicked out of home, he was expelled.
Wow.
Yes.
So Pan was not respected, was not allowed by the middle class and in churches and things like that?
In churches and things like that, until a fellow named Reverend Sewell. That was 10, 15 years later. But Cello was able to take a group of kids to the festival, and he won the first road march on steel drums in Trinidad. Yes, so that was in the late 50s. And that's why he got kicked out of home and got expelled.
Well, he was doing so well in expanding.
Well, Cello was a great musician, and a few years ago I played at his passing.
Oh, yeah.
But Cello ended up teaching economics here in TDSB in Toronto and Scarborough.
Yeah, the Toronto District School
I
Board.
attended U of T and stuff. A lot of the steel band players in the early days were people who had a inherent knowledge of classical music from hearing it in your family or whatever,
Right.
and also the cultural part of it.
Kind of melding those
And
together.
society didn't want us to be together. So, like, if it had been the way society had it, I wouldn't have been Panman Pat. I would
I
have
think
just been Pat.
that is hearkening to anti-black racism. I mean, those are the kinds of
Well, those are the things,
concepts.
and although we got accustomed to it, but now I had an opportunity to take Pan into the schools here. So after opening several bands and having great experiences and stuff, this was the place to be. Like Canada was giving us a platform for opportunity.
Yes.
We had to run away from Trinidad with a pan on our back to get here,
Did you know Cello in Trinidad?
No, I didn't know Cello. I met him here
Yeah.
and in that nightclub, the Little Trinidad nightclub.
Yes.
And so we were able to get pan. I got pan in a school in Rexdale. They bought some drums and they found me somehow and asked me if I'd come and teach. And I said, well, I've already got a job,
Oh.
yeah. But they said, well, could you just come and see if we have the right things? The kids are so interested. And so I went down to Elmbank Middle School.
I worked there.
Yeah, not
but
then.
not at that time. You're right.
Yes, when I got there, they started, and boy, I was having a great time. The principal and the kids were all gone home. Some of those students are still very active today here in Toronto in the big picture. In Steelpan.
Are any of them involved with the Toronto District School Board?
Several of them.
Okay, several of them.
One of them has won the last 10 Caravana festivals for Steelpan. One of those students from Elmbank.
At Pan Alive.
At Pan Alive, 10 in a row.
Right. Wow.
He's won. Yeah. Al Foster.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, one of my...
Was he a student of yours?
In
Yes,
Elmbank,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
I took Al and his class to Trinidad. 16 of them.
Right.
There's some things I couldn't teach, so I said, I'm going to take you guys there and you're going to see for yourself. Yeah. So I got into that school, and then they asked me if I'd go to the high school. So during the interim, I attended Queen's University here in Kingston, Ontario, and I got a qualification for teaching. So I came back. The high school I was sent to nearby to Elmbank. When I got there, the music teacher, well, they had the steel drums and everything, and they were all packed up. And the music teacher said there are 2 music rooms,
Yes.
but there's no room for oil drums. So
Oh, the steel pan is made from the oil drum.
that's correct. We
Right.
use the oil drums.
So
So he meant steel drums.
Yeah, disparaging a little bit there.
Yeah. So but coming from teaching on the side of the road in Trinidad and getting whipped for it, and here I am. I'm getting paid, and I'm in a school. And I'm dressed, I wore a jacket and a tie, I'm teaching at college, collegiate. So there was no room, so the drums was set up in a boys' change room. So I set up the drums, and I started to teach in the boys' change room. To me, that was a step up,
Right.
you know, from the side
From
of
the
the road to
street.
there. But really, it was a form of resistance. I had to show that nothing's gonna stop me.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So to get quickly onto the other side of the story, a year later, another high school asked me to come and teach there. And they bought drums, and they agreed with the first school to share me 50-50. Half a day here and half a day here. Went to the second high school, and there were 2 music rooms here in Toronto.
Right.
And the music teacher said there's no room for steel drums.
Even though they had two
Yeah.
two music rooms.
Yeah. If you go to that school now, steel drums are in those 2 rooms.
In both.
Yeah, but for me to start my program there, I noticed there was an auto shop where they did oil changes and stuff. It hadn't been in use for about 5 years. So I got some of the students with me at lunchtime and after school, cleaned it out, set up my drums, and I started to teach and give credits.
Wow.
Again, step up for me. A form of, if I didn't do that, these PAN programs may not have happened. You know, the block came in the way, and I said, let's go around that. I'm going to do it. You know, and I was able to do it that way. So I had all these hurdles to go over. And personally, I didn't see them as hurdles until a couple of years ago.
Reflecting on,
yeah.
yes, the journey.
Yeah. A few years ago, I started to lose vision. Some people refer to it as being blind or legally blind. But I started to lose vision, and I've had several surgeries, 6 actually, for glaucoma.
Oh, yeah.
And I have less than maybe 10% vision. But even while that was happening, I'm saying to myself, he made me blind so I could see. Because I got the courage now to tell my story, to show young people that if you want to succeed in life, the hurdles are coming your way, you got to find a way of going around them.
Yes,
And
yes.
jumping over them, you know,
Yes.
and stuff. So I see you looking at your watch.
Yeah, I see we're just after 8.
So we got a few more minutes.
We've got a few more
We got till
minutes.
about
Yes.
10 or 15
Okay.
minutes. Yes, so that has been my experience, and I found the courage to tell it. I didn't know that people back in my area in Trinidad knew that I was flogged for that.
They knew, but you didn't know.
I didn't know that they knew. So I
see.
invited a friend last November. I said, I'm going to do a Zoom, and I'd like you to come. And I'm going to say something that you never heard before. Did you know I was taken to the police station and flogged for that? He says, Pat, we all knew.
But nobody told you.
Nobody
they
told
knew.
me. Yeah, they all knew. And boy,
You know,
I've been hiding that secret for nearly 60 years.
You know, that it makes me think of the indigenous students that went to residential schools and suffered the indignities that they did for generations, and many of them did not talk to their families about the treatment that they got.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
You were told, don't
Yeah.
discuss that, and never did.
Right.
And until a year or so ago. You speak about indigenous children. My 2 children are indigenous. Joel and Brent, they are First Nations.
Do they play pan?
They both, Joel can play. Brent loved the drums. He didn't like steel drums. Yeah, he probably, the drums come from his tradition of
Right.
First Native music.
Right.
The drums and chant, yeah. Yeah, so that's how it's been for me. Now, I have a concern here in Toronto that some of our young students,
Yes.
and when I say young, I mean 30s and 40s, who are now the teachers in the TDSB. And there are almost 40 or 50 schools with PAN programs now in the
wow.
TDSB.
Wow.
And some of our young people are creating their own narrative. They're making up their own stories. And it's been published in one institution. I don't know if I should mention Heritage Toronto, but maybe not. But I don't know, like, how we're going to get to correct this. And I believe focus like tonight, platforms like tonight,
Yes.
can direct some of the attention to that. I also believe that I created the Steelpan program for Ontario here in the TDSB in 1986.
Oh, yeah.
You can get 4 credits in high schools in steel band music. It's spreading all over. You can get a PhD in York University in steel band and in Toronto. I have friends.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I'm thinking with other instruments within the school and society. It seems to me that there's kind of a hierarchy of respect for and seriousness.
In everything that black people are involved in, there seems to be, and we're on the opposite end of that hierarchy.
Right.
You know, but we're the creators of it. There's more interest in steel band. I tell you why.
Why is that?
To learn to play the saxophone, you could take weeks to get your mouth, your lip, your embouchure correct. You know, with the steel band, in 5 minutes, some people can learn a melody. You know, it's the quickest way to learn music, simply because it has all the basic principles of music embedded in the layout of the notes and the steel drum. For those who know a little bit about music, it's in the cycle of fourths and fifths. And everything's based on that in music, a Pythagorean thought,
Formula,
if you want. Yeah, so I think we have some work to do here in Toronto, and I feel blessed that at my age, and I'm not going to say what it is now, but I feel blessed that I have the energy and the commitment to keep doing it. In 1963, I started my first steel band in high school in Trinidad. The police didn't know about that. I was in a Canadian missionary school. And
So you mean they were open to the
while
steel
doors were being shut here
Yes.
through the Canadian missionary
And
school,
school,
they bought drums and they say, Patrick, teach the boys.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And I did. That school band is still going today. January gone, it was 60 years old.
Right.
In 2000, I wrote curriculum in Trinidad for pan players to get a BA in music. And that's happening at the College of Science and Applied Arts and Technology in Trinidad. That's still happening. But I'm doing all of this and accomplishing all of this only because of some divine help. I'm just the instrument. I was there when it happened, but I didn't do it. Just like I started with that prayer, the guy who is the artist, that was his job. And anytime he wants to come and jump in on any of my projects, he's welcome. Thank you, Lord.
Wow. Pat McNeely, Panman Pat, thank you very much for sharing your stories with us and showing us how the artists, musicians have been part of the truth-telling, of the development of the instrument and throughout the history of the Caribbean and into Canada. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
I found this. I have lots of stuff, but I can't find it.
Right, this is from the Toronto Police.
Isn't that
This
funny?
certificate is presented to Patrick McNeely in recognition and appreciation of your outstanding effort and dedication to the success of the first Toronto Police Youth Steel Drum Band 2005.
A lot of people don't know Toronto had a youth steel
Let's
band.
see, does it, 2005.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's when I came back from Trinidad, and I bet you don't.
Yes.
You knew I was a police constable, eh?
I don't think our audience knew that.
Yeah, but that's separating apart. But it just shows, I've been flogged on one end and I've been credited on this end.
Well-
What a way to go.